The largest state budget in Illinois history is law. Governor J.B. Pritzker signing that yesterday. $53.1 billion. $53.1 billion. It's like 30 some odd percent more than what was spent when Pritzker first took office in 2019. And when you add in the federal taxpayer dollars, it's costing taxpayers to run the state of Illinois at the tune of $125 billion. What was not signed yesterday, the revenue package. That was not yet sent to the governor, but still some questions remain on that package, including that interchange fee, where it's prohibiting the interchange fee financial institutions require for retailers to pay. You can't have that go to cover the cost for sales taxes or gratuity. So that's part of the revenue package that has yet to be sent to the governor. So we'll see when he signs that. But go find the story at thecentersquare.com. Find the Illinois page, and you can see the budget, latest state budget and largest state budget in Illinois history signed, despite bipartisan calls for cuts. And here is some of the various officials discussing this yesterday. Governor J.B. Pritzker talking about one provision of the budget that includes child tax credits for Illinoisans. And let's pull this back up here in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Millions of working households with children under 12 will receive the first ever Illinois child tax credit, as much as $300. That amounts to $50 million in total that we're giving back to folks who need it most. This budget also maintains an increase in the standard deduction to make sure that we preserve every potential dollar of relief for household budgets. We eliminated the state sales tax on groceries, which helps every Illinoisan deal with the effects of higher prices in the checkout line and keeps food on the table.
So the governor declaring that the child tax credit's going to help a lot of people out, also saying that getting rid of the sales tax on groceries going to help people out. But taxes have increased quite a bit since Governor Pritzker took office. Just in Pritzker's first term, Illinois taxpayers paid at least $5.2 billion of increased taxes, according to Illinois policy. The new budget started July 1st. It increases taxes by another $750 million, including another increase in the state's gas tax. So that starts July 1st. Bryce Hill with the Illinois Policy Institute says imposing new taxes on a shrinking population will exacerbate the outmigration crisis in Illinois. The Illinoisans are forced to keep up with lawmakers' unhealthy spending patterns, which drive away businesses and residents. Instead of increasing the burden, lawmakers should be looking for ways to reduce taxes and spending. Without major changes, Illinois will continue to be an unaffordable state to live and do business in. So there were bipartisan calls for cuts in this budget, but that wasn't something that ultimately transpired. Here is State Representative Fred Crespo from the House floor talking about the budget cuts that he was looking to attain in the state budget.
There's a 5% reserve on all discretionary GRF lines, meaning that agencies can use up to 95% of what they're budgeted, come back in May, and if they needed the 5%, that we would consider it if revenues were available. And we could do that without impacting the higher ed, MAP, Medicaid, the courts, or constitutional officers. We did that in fiscal year 10. We did that in fiscal year 11. It's not a novel concept. And we came up with $1 billion. And my understanding was that that wasn't considered either.
So again, the governor saying that Crespo never brought him the concerns of getting those budget cuts. He says it was brought up last minute.
Happy to talk about all that. But you've got to have specific ideas, because this idea that you're going to cut across the board, what do you want to cut? You want to cut education by 5%? You want to cut health care across the board? What is it exactly that you want to cut? So it's easy to make these proclamations, usually Republicans make, about across-the-board cuts.
But it wasn't just Republicans. Again, Fred Crespo is a Democrat, and also Democrats comptroller Susana Mendoza She said that she would have liked to have seen more budget cuts. On the House floor, State Representative Travis Weaver, the Republican, talked about financial responsibility. You had other Republicans as well blast the state budget proposal that is now enacted as spending too much. Here's a little bit of what State Representative Steve
We're going to start off with a lesson called Economics for English Majors. You know who you are. There are no answers. There are only trade-offs. The first lesson of economics is scarcity. There is never enough of anything to satisfy all those who want it. The first lesson of politics is to disregard the first lesson of economics. I'm going to focus on the diversion of money from the road fund this year because, boy, I'll tell you what, that's a lucrative and very fertile ground for taking money from one place and putting it into another.
Even though we had the lockbox amendment, so Wright goes on to talk about sweeping funds from the road fund for other things, you know, you got the transit authority with a fiscal cliff. You've got Chicago getting all kinds of video gaming terminal money when they don't have video gaming terminals in Chicago. You've got billions of dollars for pensions, billions of dollars for education, almost $1 billion in this budget for non-citizen migrants, which we'll touch on in a separate segment with the governor reacting to President Joe Biden's the executive order on migrants. But listen, I mean, this budget does indeed spend on a whole bunch of stuff. I mean, it's the state's largest budget. Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton joining Governor J.B. Pritzker yesterday for the budget signing ceremony, heralding the budget.
So to be standing here just a few years later, celebrating our 6th consecutive balanced budget, I'm struck by a few reflections. One, what a difference a governor makes. 2, good government doesn't have to sacrifice compassion to be fiscally responsible. In fact, that harmony is what makes it good. 3, when we build systems to support families, we support our future. Children raised by parents who know someone is looking out for them will then go on to look out for others.
So a lot of money for early childhood development and so on. But you know, why do we have to seek raising taxes by $750 million or $1 billion, depending on how it spells out entirely? And again, that revenue package not yet signed. What about the federal stimulus? That's dried up, right? Did that have any impact on previous budgets? And the fact that it's dried up, is that why we're having to increase taxes across multiple different sectors in Illinois?
It's true that there were people who received $1,400 checks and they went out and spent it, and there were sales tax dollars that came to every state as a result of that. But the reality is that, as you may have heard by now, this budget that I just signed increased spending only by 1.6% in a world where there's 3.2% inflation. So just take note of that.
Again, the governor defending the increased spending, but how are they going to increase spending if they don't get that revenue package, that package that had 3 votes in the House and it had to wait until 4:30 in the morning to actually get across the finish line? That revenue package not yet sent to the governor, but one provision in it, other than it increasing taxes on sports books, increasing taxes on retailers, increasing taxes on business operating losses, and even increasing taxes on re-renters, people who have online companies that re-rent hotel rooms, for instance, increasing taxes on video gaming terminals as well. All of that, $750+ billion that's being increased in taxes. The governor, though, asked yesterday about the interchange fee. We touched on this. You can find the story at thecentersquare.com about how if they prohibit the financial institutions from charging retailers a fee every time somebody swipes the card to pay for goods, if they prohibit that for sales taxes and for gratuity, it could cause people, consumers, if you're paying by credit card or debit card, to swipe twice. once for the goods and services, and then again for the sales tax and any gratuity that there may be. That's the warning from the financial institutions. Is that going to change it all? Will the governor, when he does get the revenue package, will he change that with an amendatory veto or something to that effect? Here's the governor's response to that question yesterday.
I don't foresee any changes. I intend to sign it. The bill hasn't been enrolled and passed over to me for signing. That'll happen before June 30. And you know, I will say that the interchange fee issue, certainly something I think, you know, we're always willing to discuss, revisit, have a conversation about.
And the interchange issue was something that was apparently a deal with the Illinois Retail Merchants Association, who represents retailers across the state. They were adamantly opposed to capping the discounts that retailers get for collecting and remitting local and state sales taxes. Because when you go to the store, there's not a tax man standing right there saying, give us the sales tax. No, it's the retailers who are acting as the tax man collecting that. So they're using their own private resources as the tax collector for the Department of Revenue, and they have to remit these things on a regular basis. They also possibly could get audited, which happens a lot, apparently. And those sales taxes have to be collected by somebody, and that takes resources. But the state's going to cap that under this budget. So in order to make that a little bit more palatable, they're prohibiting this interchange fee that retailers would have to pay for financial institutions to facilitate the swiping of credit cards and debit cards. And retailers say it gives them a little bit of breathing room. So obviously that's another issue. But the prohibition of the interchange fee is only going to benefit the retailers. There's no tax benefit there. So the prohibition of the interchange fee has zero impact on the state's revenues. That was one reason why the financial institutions were like, this just doesn't make sense to us, and that's why they opposed it. Regardless, more to come, of course, on the budget details. A lot has been brought up there. The largest spending budget in state history, signed into law, and that begins July 1st. Also the same day that your gas tax is going to go up by about, 2 cents? Bishop on Air, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Join me each and every weekday morning as we break down stories important to the state of Illinois. And don't forget also to go check out thecentersquare.com.